everyone, welcome back to the Elite CEO Show. I am your host, Shayla Gray, and my goal with this podcast is to bring you the most elite information, training, and conversation in the entire world. How will I make that happen, and why should you listen to me? Simple, you shouldn't. But my job is to bring on everyone that you should be listening to. That way you are both entertained and educated on the best ways to grow your profitable business. Every episode, I will be speaking to experts in the fields of marketing, fulfillment, sales, and more. My promise to you is that every episode, I will be bringing an elite lineup of CEOs that will blow your mind. Now, for today's episode, up first, we have Tanner Chidester, the founder of Elite CEOs. He has prepared a live training for us on how to help more people by raising your prices. I've spoken for too long now. Tanner, take us away.
What's going on, guys? So what I wanted to do today is I've been really working on these PowerPoints, so I hope you guys are enjoying them. What I want to do today is I want to go through a PowerPoint I made on how I raised my prices from $47 to $100,000 plus. And you know, if you're not into raising your prices or you don't like to charge high prices, that's completely your prerogative. This is just my experience. This is what I did, and hopefully, you know, I can give you some insight on what worked for me. And maybe you could take some of it and it could possibly work for you. So I'll go ahead and share my screen and we'll get into the presentation. So just making sure this looks good on Instagram. I'm going to blow this up. All right, awesome, guys. Hopefully you guys enjoy this presentation. I put a lot of time into it, as always. So hopefully that is good. Let me do this and we'll go back and here we go. Awesome. So for everyone watching, today's presentation is going to be on how I raised my prices from $47 to as high as $100K plus for a single package, okay? And so I've had stuff sell at, you know, $3,000, $10,000, $16,000, $40,000, $100,000. And it's not only helped me help more people, but it's helped me, you know, feel good about my services, right? Because something that used to always bother me was, you know, charging $47, $50, $100, someone almost taking advantage of me, or it felt like that to me, and I wasn't getting paid what I felt I was worth. And so I have this philosophy now that basically says to sell to the whale so you can serve the minnows. And what that means is by going after the most premium clients, the top clients, the best clients in terms of financial, right? I'm not saying someone's a bad person, but in terms of financial, not only do they get better results, they're more committed, they complain less, etc. But then I get my time back so I could create free content like this that you're watching for people who I consider quote unquote the minnows who maybe can't afford your services. And so it's not about not helping other people. In fact, you can help a lot more people by raising your prices. And so I'm going to go through my journey today, how I did that, what you can look at. And, you know, hopefully you could just take some things that maybe you could implement into your business or it gives you some insight. Okay. So the first thing that happened on my journey is I met a good friend and mentor of mine named David Fry in the top right-hand corner. And when I started out, I made an initial program called the Rapid Muscle System. And that was actually a lead gen magnet. You can see that says the Sustainable Fitness Solution. That was one of the lead magnets I built. And at the time, I was full-time modeling pretty much. And my way of trying to sell it, and maybe you can relate to this, was trying to post it on social media with links, or to send it to people in a DM and telling them to buy it, which didn't really work out very well, okay? And after 2 years of only selling $2,000 worth of it, I was ready to quit. Now, right when that happened, I had the bright idea that the reason my business wasn't working was because I didn't have enough capital. And so I took a door-to-door sales job of security alarms with a company called Alder. They're based in Utah. And I went out to Alabama and sold for about 7 to 8 months, 6 days a week, probably 10 to 12 hours a day. It was rough. And it was the most difficult job in my life emotionally and physically, but I learned how to sell lights out, and that forever changed my life. And when I say that, I mean, it was 100-degree heat. It was the summer. It was hot. It was muggy. I had knives pulled on me. I had guns pulled on me. I got pulled over by the police. It just was like, it was an interesting experience to say the least. But it's something I would highly recommend to you if you're trying to learn sales. And during the time I was selling, I had just turned 25, and I made a promise to myself if I didn't start making real money in my business, that I was going to quit and go back to school. So at that time, Facebook must have heard me, because the very next day I saw an ad on Facebook on how to start a high ticket fitness business, right? And so I invested the $2K I had in my bank account and put the rest on a credit card. And I was very scared, to say the least. In fact, I wish I had the recording because I think it would make some of you guys laugh, because some people view me now. But if you would see me on that sales call, I was completely petrified of what could have gone wrong. And what's in that program, I was told in simple terms to raise my prices from $47 to about $1,500 plus. And I thought I'd been scammed. Like, I was like, you got to be kidding me. Like, I paid all this money and that's what you're going to tell me. And I didn't think there was any way people would pay that kind of money. And if you're curious, you're watching on Instagram, you can see this ad right here. This is one of the ads I'm running right now. And it was an ad similar to that, right? Because I've actually built a multi-million-dollar fitness business. And so that's allowed me to go help other trainers, so on and so forth. So a week later, after raising my prices, I made over 10K in a week. And to that point, I was making about $3,000 a month max as a server and door-to-door sales guy. And that was when my life basically started to change forever. And so what are the kind of the key takeaways? And here, if you're looking at the screen, those are just all the awards I've gotten from doing different levels of revenue. And it all started from just learning how to raise my prices. Okay. And so what I want to share with you guys are the key takeaways that, I implemented, and, hopefully they can give you guys some insight and help you. Now, right out of the gate, if you haven't, read my book, Infinite Income, and $100 Million Offers by Alex Hormozi. Alex is a good friend of mine. I think he's brilliant at business. I think he's actually a better person than he is a businessman, which I think speaks volumes about him. But if I could go back in time, I think for my first book, I did the best I knew how to do. But in hindsight, looking at, Alex's book, Alex takes just the offer and breaks that part down. But if you go through my book that I made about a year ago, it'll take you through the step-by-step process, similar to what I'm trying to do during this presentation. By the way, just if anyone's watching, if you happen to purchase my book, let me know. If you send me the receipt, and I'll actually reimburse you. I tried to send them to people, but it ends up being like a huge pain. But if you buy it, you're watching this live, and you buy it, comment or DM me a receipt, and then I'll actually reimburse you just for like my way of saying thank you. I think it's like $7 to $20 depending on what you get. So what I decided to do is I decided to start going after the top 3% of people instead of everyone else. So when you're selling a $47 product, you're basically going after everyone, versus I really wanted to start going after the top clients. And I was super dedicated to learning sales and marketing and messaging. And what I realized was that typically the best marketer wins, not the best coach or trainer. And so some people will say, that's not fair, or life's not fair, but I mean, life isn't fair. And so what I realized was that by being the best trainer, just knowing like everything about nutrition and strength training didn't make me effective at making money. I really needed to learn the game of sales and messaging and marketing. And so I changed my goal from being paid for time, working in the gym or spending time with people, to being paid for results. And that's really how I get paid now. Is people pay us for results. They are not paying us for time. And I funded my business with a client acquisition strategy, and I'm going to go more on that in just a bit. So there's really 5 key things that I think you need to look at, or I looked at when I was trying to raise my prices. You have the offer, you have messaging, you have sales, you have ads, and then you have fulfillment. So starting off with the offer, this is a great example. In fact, if I go back to the slide, this is an example Alex uses in his book, and I love it. And I completely have ripped it off from him or used it, or whatever words you want to say, as an analogy. I think it was such a great analogy he used in his book. So this, out of his entire book, this was the one page. There's a page in here that goes over these concepts. And this was the one page that made the most sense to me, because as I've gotten older and I'm really trying to build great businesses, and I'm maturing, and I have other companies I own, I'm really trying to look at like what creates a great offer and a great product. And this is right when Alex's book came out. And there's really 4 things you look at. The first is the determined outcome. So do they actually want what you're selling? If your offer is not in the health, wealth, or relationship niche, it's typically not going to sell well. Okay, that's almost always a guarantee, because that's what everyone wants. And whatever you're going to do for them usually has to tie back to one of those 3 things. Okay. The next is risk. How much risk is involved? So a way that you can make people buy your offer more consistently is if there's some type of guarantee, or you're going to do the work for them, or something of that nature where you decrease their risk. Okay. Now, I believe in, if I misquote, but I believe this line over the top is because if anything's divided by 0, it becomes 0. And so what usually makes the biggest difference is how fast someone can get a result. So, making $1 million in a day versus $1 million in a year, and effort, right? Because most people don't want to put in a lot of effort, right? So if I can show you how to make $1 million, but there's high risk, takes a lot of time, and there's high effort, it's less likely you will buy than if there's low risk. It's very fast and it takes little effort. And so the example I'm going to use in this book, because my first ever offer was a fitness offer, and what Alex used in his book was a fitness offer versus liposuction. I really like this because what he was making the analogy to is not that necessarily liposuction was better, but that it is a more lucrative offer and people will pay more because of this diagram. So if you look at a fitness offer, everyone wants that outcome, okay? But there's a lot of risk because they may not hit the goal. They might not stay motivated. They don't like it. It's too hard, etc. It also takes more time to get in shape with the regular, going to the gym, eating healthy. It takes time. And then there's also a lot more effort involved. And so the chances that people will typically pay more for a boring fitness offer is low, right? I'm not saying that you can't sell a fitness offer. I mean, that's how I built my first multi-million-dollar company. But this is to give you an idea of how you can make your offer better, right? What's the best possible outcome? And then pull it back to something realistic. So for example, liposuction, why this is such a great example is because the determined outcome is the same as getting in shape, losing weight. But the difference is there's no risk because it's 100% guaranteed. You lay on a table, they cut you open, you're done. Time is instant, essentially. It's 1 day. And the effort is zero because you're asleep. And so the point of that is that the closer your offer can be around these things where there's low risk, it's very fast, and there's little effort, the better it will sell. And so your job, if you were to sell a fitness offer, for example, is to make it as close to that as humanly possible. Okay? So hopefully that makes sense. Hope you guys are, enjoying this so far. Now, what I used in my fitness offer was these 3 things. These are kind of what I call my 3 pillars. So the first one, and I'll explain at the end, so don't crucify me as I'm going through this, but I'll explain. The first one was how to eat whatever you want without sabotaging results, because I knew, going back to this diagram, that at the end of the day, the perfect fitness program allowed a person to eat bad food and not have to work out a lot. And so my pillars formed around this. Now, at the time I made this, I didn't know about this diagram, but it made more sense to me later on why it did so well. My second one was how to train however you want without sabotaging results. And then the third one is something I called lifestyle recalibration, but it was just really a marketing buzzword. But what I did is I showed them you could work with an in-person trainer, Beachbody, or me. And so what I really did is I just did macros, I did calorie counting, and then I realized that 90% of their results were going to come from nutrition, right? Now, if you would disagree with that, that's totally cool. I'm just telling you my experience and what I did, okay? But I was big on if it fits your macros and calorie counting. And so what happened was I was telling people, I said, hey, look, 90% of your results come from nutrition. So I'm going to show you how to eat food you love and still get results, and all while not having to work out that much. Because yes, is going to the gym good for you? Of course. Should they do some training? Yes. Is it necessary to lose weight? No. And 99% of my clients just wanted to lose 10, 20, 30 pounds. And they wanted to do it in a simple fashion. And then that's how I really got a lot of people to buy, because it sounds better. Like this type of marketing and getting them to their goals sounded so much better than, hey, I'm going to give you a customized program and a customized training plan, and you get some tech support, right? That's what most trainers would do. And so I really was learning how to market and tell people what they want so I could give them what they needed, right? And you would be shocked at how many people don't understand calories, don't understand macros, don't understand thermodynamics. It was crazy. And that was wild to me at the time because I was so into fitness. Now, the last part is basically when you're breaking down your offer, the first 2 should be what makes your offer unique. And the last one should be why they should choose you. So I would always go to people and I would say, look, you could hire in-person trainer, Beachbody, or me. Now, the issue with the in-person trainer is that 90% of your results come from nutrition, but why would you go to a gym and train in person for 10% of your results? And people be like, yeah, like that makes sense. I was like, exactly, right? Because being an in-person trainer working at a gym, there's a lot of stipulations and guidelines they technically can't do. Now, could you just do it anyways? Of course, but that's typically something they're not allowed to do as an in-person trainer. They can't do any nutrition, which is the biggest reason people get results. So I would say that. Then the second one would be Beachbody. I'm like, look, everyone gets the same program. So does it make sense that someone who's 300 pounds would get the same program as someone who's 100 pounds? They're like, no. It's like, so look, it's cheap. Sure, but pretty much what happens is you get great results because they put in massive restriction and tons of training, and then you realize you can't stick with it, so you stop. right? And so that's why working with me, not only am I going to teach you how to eat and train the way you want for the rest of your life and still get results, but you're going to learn how this stuff actually works scientifically so that you can do it for the rest of your life. And what that did is it positioned me as an authority. It made sense to them why I was the better option. And on top of that, by telling them they were going to learn the things they needed for the rest of their life, it was easier for them to swallow a higher price, because when you pay $50 every month for the rest of your life, that's a lot more expensive than paying $3,000 or $4,000 once. And then ironically, because I gave such a great service, people would re-sign anyways. So a lot of people go, well, hey, but if you tell them they never have to pay for help again, does that mean they don't re-sign? I really had no issues with it because people had such a great experience. They were happy to continue to pay me, and because they got great results. And ironically, because they pay more, they're more committed, and they got better results by being more committed. So it's this infinite circle that just works in your favor and the clients. Okay, so that's the first thing. Now, the second thing is messaging. And there's two frameworks. You have what's called cold outreach, which is if you don't have money to spend on ads, you need to do cold outreach. And then if you do have money, we're going to go into that in a second. That's going to be inbound. Okay, so the first one, there's Hansika, guys. Just say hi. She always loves walking in front of the lives. So the first one is going to be the framework for cold outreach. So first, you're going to compliment them on something personal. Okay, so you'd reach out and say, hey, that's a really nice car. Hope that's not weird to say. They'll typically reply back and say, thanks, appreciate it. You'll say, cool. Number two, what do you do for work? Oh, I do X, Y, and Z. Then I would typically say, cool. So does that keep you busy? Everyone will say yes to being busy. I've never had someone reply back to me who said that, they're lazy or they're not busy. Okay. Then I would go into number four and I'd say, cool, does that make it hard to work out because you're so busy? And now I'm back into fitness and I'm starting to talk about fitness, which is the whole reason I'm reaching out, right? Because I'm trying to sell my fitness services. Okay. Now, is this the most optimal way, guys? Absolutely not. But if you don't have money and you have a lot of time, this is the framework I would follow. So make sure you take a screenshot of this so you can use it later. Okay. So after that, I asked what their goal is, their fitness goal. They're like, I want to lose some weight. I say, cool, what are you struggling with? Oh, I've been struggling with this and that. What have you tried before? Beachbody, P90X? Yeah, I've tried those. And I was like, got it. Have you ever worked with a coach before or anything like that? Yeah, it didn't go that well. And then after that, I say, well, look, I don't know if you care or not, number 9, but I do this fitness stuff all day long. And so if you'd like some advice, I'd be happy to give some to you. I just want to make sure you actually want it. I just like to be respectful. And then they're like, yeah, that'd be great. You're like, awesome. Here's my number. What's yours? That's the best way to do it. You don't want to send a booking link. You don't want to ask, just say, here's my number, text it to them, and then say, what's yours? And then immediately call them. Now, number 11 is a triage call. What that is where you basically just get back on the call, build rapport, ask them some of the same questions you've actually already asked, and then say, cool. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to send you a follow-up email that has more specific questions like your age, your weight, your height, stuff like that. And then once I get those answers, I'll be able to formulate a program. And pretty much what you're doing is you're sending an application before a sales call. And so they would send back the application. And then number 13, if they had any answers that weren't, in alignment with someone who's actually willing to pay for help, I would follow up and then we would schedule the sales call and then close. So I know this is a bit of a long framework, but this strategy is so important because it took me from someone who was making a couple $1,000 a month to where I could make up to $50,000 a month simply by effort, right? And I was always the guy who wanted to have a way to make money. I just didn't know how, and I was willing to do whatever I had to in terms of work to make it happen. So this is how I started making money. Now, once I had money, obviously I started to run ads because it's easier, right? They're not as skeptical. They clicked on your ad. They're interested in help. And so then what I did is this changes a little bit when you run paid ads, okay? Because they're clicking on your ad. So they're basically raising their hand saying that they're interested in what you have to offer. Hopefully you guys can see this okay. Yeah, it looks okay. On Instagram, if you guys can't see it, let me know. I don't want to mess it up. I think it's okay. I'll try to get it closer next time. Let me move this a little closer. There we go. All right, cool. Hopefully that's a little better, guys. So the next thing then is what I would do if someone clicks on my ad, right? And they're messaging me or we're having a conversation is I just go right into it. I say, awesome. Thanks for clicking on my, training. What's your goal? And then what are you struggling with? What have you tried before? Have you ever had a coach? And then I offer them help. And then we book a call with an application, and then you do the close. And so the reason that people like ads is because you cut 15 steps down to about 7. You cut them in half. But before you have money, you really need to make sure that you get the outbound framework down, cold outreach, before you ever do inbound. Okay, so all of that makes sense to you guys. Hope you guys are, following so far. So that's messaging. Now, after that, you have the sales portion. The framework I really have for sales is an intro or pre-frame. So, hey, here's what you're going to expect on the call today. Here's the goal. By the end of the call, my hope is that you feel confident in whatever you decide to do, whether that's work with us or not. Okay. Then we'll go into the question portion. So what's your goal? What are you struggling with? What have you tried before? Then I'll label the problem. Okay. So, hey, it sounds like you're trying to lose 100 pounds and you're really struggling with X, Y, and Z. Okay. Then we go into the 3 pillars, number 4. So if you guys remember from my earlier slide, the 3 pillars, I passed it. It's going to be right here. So these were my 3 pillars for fitness. You need to have a core pillar for your offer. Okay. If you don't have a core pillar, it's really, really hard to sell, because you can't just go through a call and say, hey, I'm going to help you lose weight, or hey, I'm going to help you make money. Everyone says those things. What makes you different? So whatever everyone else is doing, you want to do the complete opposite as much as possible so that you stand out. Okay. Sorry on Instagram, guys. I don't know why this is tilted. There we go. Awesome. Okay. So going back to the sales, then number 5, you'll do a brief program overview. Guys, what's in your program does not matter. Okay. I can't stress this enough. What's in your program does not matter. You only have to tell them very briefly. So like for us, I'll be like, look, you get a one-to-one coach. We have daily office hours, daily expert calls, a portal, done free materials, Facebook group. That's it, right? Like that's what's in the program. What matters is how you're going to teach them or how you're going to coach them, what your strategies are. Okay. There's a million different programs and coaches. It's more about the pillars than it ever is about what's in the actual program. And then number 6, you pitch. And then 7, you handle objections. 9 times out of 10, it's going to be price or belief. Like they don't believe they can do it, or they don't believe in you, the spouse, or I need to think about it. And I've had trainings on sales and how to handle those objections. So if you haven't seen those yet, be on the lookout, or either check my Facebook group. But those are the main objections. It's going to be price or belief. Typically what I say by belief is, oh, it's really expensive. You'll break it down and ask how much cash they have on hand, and what it ends up being is that they just don't believe, right? And then I spend a lot of time going back, handling their objections on belief. Spouse, that I need to think about it, happen, but I would say it's far less often. More times than not, it's price or belief issue. Okay, so that's the sales portion. Then we get into ads. So what I did, and what I usually recommend, is like you get 2 to 3 sales organically at $1,500 plus, and this funds your client acquisition. So if you guys have ever watched Shark Tank, this is actually the first ad I ever ran right here for anyone who can see it on the screen. I don't know if you can see it, but it has about 1,300 comments and almost 800 shares. And that was the first ad I ever run that got me $1 million in a year. And what I typically found was that people would go out and get loans, or they'd sell super cheap things, and they never got their businesses off the ground. Like when I see Shark Tank, those people are going and leveraging huge loans with the hope that their business works. And what's cool is when you're doing a service-based, high-priced offer, high-ticket offer, you don't have to do that. And so to give you an example, when I got a sale, let's say I got 3 sales at $1,500, I have $4,500. I could take 1,000 of that, spend $1,000 on Facebook. I would get 100 leads at about $10 a pop, then 10 calls from those 100 leads, right? So it's about 10%. And then 3 would cancel, 2 wouldn't show, and then I close 3 at $1,500. And that really is, what made my business get off to the races. And I just rinse and repeat that process. Okay, that's how ads work. So, one thing to note is like if you're messaging and you can't get your cold outreach to work, you're not going to get ads to work. Okay, so it's super, super important that before you run ads, you really get your process down with cold outreach and DMing and messaging before you ever go to ads. Okay. Final thing is just explain to you what ad process didn't work for me. So when I started, I was running an ad to an opt-in page to a webinar to a call. For anyone who's watching doesn't know what an opt-in page is, that just means putting in your phone number and email. Now, I'm not saying that can't work. For whatever reason, it just didn't work for me. Okay. Again, this is just my experience, and hopefully my experience can give you guys some insight. So what did work was running ad to messenger to VSL to a call. Okay. And the reason that worked so well is what I did is I would go back and message every single person who came from my ad, and that changed absolutely everything. And so I went from a 1x ROI to a 10x ROI overnight by just having conversations with people, just treating them like a human being, acting like I actually cared, right? And you guys should care, because remember, these are humans who are clicking on your ads. These are people who want to be business owners, or they want help. And so you have to treat them with that respect and be willing to put in that follow-up effort. And I've noticed like a lot of people, they're just not willing to do that. Finally, you have the fulfillment, okay? And so ironically, a lot of people think by raising prices, you have to make your fulfillment a lot harder or more complicated. All I did when I was running my fitness business was I had customized training and nutrition with an app, and then I give them one-to-one text and Zoom support as needed, and I would sell them on results over time. Okay. And so you got to shift your mindset if you want to become wealthy from trading your time for money, and you have to shift it to results, because when you're selling a result, people don't have to worry about how much time they get as long as they're getting the result. And that's the difference, right? Going from charging per hour or per day to per result. And that's kind of the biggest shift in terms of the fulfillment. But as you can see, the fulfillment wasn't really hard. In fact, in some cases, outside of the texting or the Zoom calls, the fulfillment is actually pretty easy. Okay. So again, just to share my experience, guys, the 5 things I focused on so I could raise my prices was the offer, the messaging, the sales, the ads, and the fulfillment. And so this is really just to share my experience from going from charging $47 all the way as high as 100K packages and everything in between. And so hopefully this gives you guys some insight. Hopefully this gives you, some ideas of what you could possibly do, and maybe this will help you in your business. But what I'll tell you for raising my prices, the number one thing was that it allowed me to, again, sell to the whales so I could serve the minnows. And what that means is when you're selling to the premium clients, they get better results because, again, they're more committed. They usually have more skills, depending on the offer, right? That they can actually make sure they're successful. They complain less, they do the work, and they get great results, again, because of that commitment. And then what happens to you is you get your time back. You feel happy because you're being paid what you're worth. And then you're able to go create content similar to this for free for the people who maybe can't afford those services. And so hopefully that makes sense to you. Again, this is just my experience. Take that for what it's worth. Whatever makes you happy, what you want to do, absolutely do that. But I just feel like by sharing my experiences and what works for me is going to go a lot farther than me trying to tell you what you should do, right? More just like an example. And if you want to run with it, do it. If you don't, don't. So anyways, hopefully this was helpful, guys. I appreciate you. As always, I will see you next week. And if you have any questions, drop those down below. You can also go to elitecos.com, check out any of our testimonials, some of the people we've helped, see what results we've gotten for them. And hope you guys have an amazing day. So that's it for today, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.
Wow, Tanner, thank you so much for that. I hope you guys got something from that. If you have a takeaway, please leave it in the comment for us. All right, guys. So up next, we have the COO and CMO of Elite CEOs, Ben Sturdivant. He is the genius marketing expert behind Elite CEOs. So definitely can learn a lot from him. He'll be sharing with us the number 1 lead conversion strategy for high ticket businesses. Ben, I'm going to pass it over to you.
My name is Ben Sturdivant. I'm the Chief Operating and Chief Marketing Officer with Elite CEOs. And if you don't know much about Elite CEOs, you can go to elitecos.com. You can watch a little overview, read about some of the testimonials of the clients that we work with. Basically, we take experts, coaches, consultants, marketing agencies, really anyone who has a business that they want to grow online. We teach them how to do it successfully. And here's what we're going to cover today. We're going to be talking about what I feel is the number 1 lead conversion strategy for high ticket. And really, it could be applied to anything. It doesn't have to be high ticket specifically. It could be selling anything for that matter. But we at Elite CEOs, we specialize in high ticket. And so that's what we're going to be talking about today. I'm going to try to use as many examples as I possibly can. But most of these strategies should apply to really anything. Any niche that you're a part of, trust me, you can be successful in it. So let's dive in because we've got a lot to talk about today. Okay, so hopefully when you came here today, you weren't looking for the latest, ad strategy or the latest gimmick lead generation messaging script, because that's not what I'm going to give you. What I'm going to give you, what I think is the foundation to everything, and probably the most important aspect to making sales easier for you in your business. Lead generation, lead conversion, that's what we're talking about. For most people in our space, in the high ticket coaching space, they're really not after generating leads, because that's not that hard. What they're trying to do is to convert those leads from interested into appointments, right? And then eventually, of course, sales. So I'm going to give you what I feel is the most important strategy to do that. Okay. Now, before we do that, I do want to walk you through the customer, value journey. You probably have seen this before, and this is what kind of what I created for ours. Ultimately, what you're going to do, what your ultimate goal is to show people their transformation. That's it. That's the conversion strategy that I'm going to give you today. Now, I'm going to walk you through how we do that, and I'm going to give you some tips and some ideas on how to make this work for you in your business. So don't worry. But I want to make sure you're clear on, basically here's the journey that people will go through with pretty much any product, right? So you've got over here on the left-hand side, you've got this before state, and your goal is to show them how to get to the after state. And so many marketers make a big mistake of just focusing on the features. This is who we are, and this is, our credibility, and this is what you get. And they don't focus on showing that transformation at all stages of the journey. So the attraction stage, that just means getting their attention with an ad, organic, whatever it may be. Getting them to subscribe, obviously, is getting them to opt in, come into your ecosystem so you can send them ongoing information. Engaging with them is things like having conversations, getting on the phone. Validation can come in other forms, such as getting them to attend webinars, VSLs, opt in for things, purchase things. Ascension is booking calls, getting them to take that next step, maybe become a higher paying customer with one of the products that you offer. Closing them is your high ticket program, and then of course launching them. Okay, now at all of these stages, you want to be communicating that transformation. So the key question is how do you identify what that transformation is? And I've done numerous trainings in the past on target market research, so I'm going to go quickly through this, but just to kind of refresh your memory, target market research tends to get overlooked because most people think they know what their market wants. Right? If you're in the personal training, you feel like you know what your customers want, or if you're in the financial markets, you think you know what investors want and your potential customers. If you're in the relationship space, you feel like you know what people want. But what I have seen over and over again, I've audited so many different clients and businesses. What I see is a common theme where they've been in their market for a little while. They tend to lose sight. They tend to kind of forget, or maybe even their market, their niche has changed over time, okay, where people's wants and desires have changed. And it's really, really important that you take the time to listen to what your market is telling you. And there's a lot of resources that I'm going to recommend and some systems to go through that I think will help you stay in touch or get back in touch with what exactly it is that your target market really is after. So Facebook groups, this is a great strategy to use. You can go into any Facebook group where your ideal clients are hanging out, go into the search feature of that Facebook group and type the word struggling, just or struggling or frustrated or any kind of word. What you're going to find are your ideal clients talking about things that they're struggling with, that they're frustrated with, that they're angry about. Or you could do the same thing with winning or success or, positive oriented words, and you can get an idea of what's working for your clients and or potential clients. Quora is another one where you could ask questions. Answerthepublic.com is a great resource to get an idea of what people are searching for online. YouTube, and not just YouTube videos, but their comments. So if you have a competitor, for example, and there's a video or any video that is super popular with your ideal client, reading the comments is where you're going to see a lot of the frustrations, because that's where a lot of people will ask questions to the expert, right? They'll pose questions, or maybe people are doing this for you. You could even look in your own YouTube videos. We do that a lot with ours, with our Facebook groups, with all of our social media. When we pose questions to people, things that they'd like to see, we're not doing that just to, to ask a question or to get engagement. We're doing that to help us create content that's going to serve them, that's going to provide value to them. Okay. Amazon. And then again, Amazon reviews. This is great for people who, in any industry, investing, real estate. There's real estate books and programs. There's, fitness. There's so many resources within Amazon, and the reviews are so easy to access. The same thing. I would look at the 1-star reviews, or, the people who are angry, frustrated, what didn't work for them, what they're frustrated about, what angers them. This is going to give you further insight into what people are dealing with. And of course, you've got Google. It's the ultimate, right? Look at your current customer base. This is where we spend a majority of our time. Now, granted, not everyone's in the position where they have thousands and thousands and thousands of customers that they can drive feedback from, and that's okay. But even if you've got 15 or 20, I think it's a great resource. Who are your current customers? Who are they? Why did they buy from you? What are their common characteristics and traits? Which customers are your favorite to work with? Where do these people hang out? What do they buy, read, and watch? All of these things are going to give you avenues to plug into and learn more about your customers. Checking out your competition and who they're targeting, and who their current customers are, and maybe, are they missing any kind of sub-markets? There's a great tool out there called SpyFew, and as well as others, where you can get insight into things that your competition is doing, so that you can get further information and data. Data is really important on what your target market is up to. Okay. Now, this is the majority of what I want to talk about today, because this is the meat of it. Once you have a clear understanding of what your target market really, really wants, and what their ultimate end state is, what their ultimate goals, desires are, where they want to be, right? Most of the time, you're going to know their before state, right? If you're in the fitness space, you know that people are overweight, they're unhealthy, they're sad, they're frustrated, they might be depressed. There's a lot of before states. In the financial world, it might be, confusion. They don't know what to invest in. It's usually easier to identify what their before state is. What your job is to do is to really hone in on what their after state wants to be. Not what you think it wants to be, but really what they want it to be. And this is why the target market research is so important. And it's why it's so important to stay in tune with what people really, really want, what their ultimate true desires and goals are. I come from a world in the direct response, direct marketing world, where, usually we would say, well, people want more money. Well, everybody wants more money, but that wasn't going to be enough for someone to continue to drive their business. We deal with this now with clients, right? We talk to them about what is it that's really pushing them to build their business? What is it that's really going to drive them? Because we need to know what their why is, because we have to hold them accountable, because helping coach them through launching their offer, building an online business, growing a team, this is not an easy thing. They're going to want to quit. And that's not because of our program. It's because being an entrepreneur is hard. So we need to know what it is that's motivating them, or that's going to push them to take action even when they don't want to, right? And that's really the secret for any type of coach, right? Again, fitness, financial, real estate, doesn't matter, relationship, what's going to push them to take action even when they'd rather not spend the money, the time, the resources. Because if you can identify that, and you can communicate how they can get that working with you, that's the number one lead conversion strategy for any business. Okay. Now, what I'm going to recommend that you do is this little, what I call before and after grid. I didn't come up with this. I stole this from Ryan Dice, a digital marketer. I think it's been around a long time. It's not rocket science. Okay. Create a little Excel spreadsheet or Google sheet, 3 columns. One is the questions you're asking, and then the other 2 columns are the before and after. Okay, so let's start over here. What do they have? So what do they currently have right now? That goes in the before stage. Okay, so let's take, we'll do weight loss. Okay, about half our clients are in the fitness industry, and there's a lot of fitness coaches out there, so this will apply to you. So what do they have right now? Well, there's a few things. They probably, maybe they're like I mentioned, they're fat, they're overweight, right? They lack confidence, right? We'll get into the feeling here in just a second, but that's what they have right now, right? It's pretty easy. And then the after state of that would be obviously losing the weight, right? That's an easy one. The more important one is probably what they're feeling, right? And that's the confidence, the sadness, the depression, the self-doubt. That's where they are right now, what they're feeling like. The after state is really what they're probably after, which is to walk into the room and people go, wow, or to get that validation, to feel good in their own skin. It's the emotional side of it, okay? What their average day is like. This is where you get an opportunity to tell a story. And this is really, really important when it comes to creating copy, guys. This is, and we'll talk about, kind of incorporating all of these things throughout the different stages of your customer value journey. But really getting clear on what their average day is like is going to be really powerful, because if you can tell a story about, hey, one of your clients, maybe a case study, Joe's day, he would wake up and he just, he knew he couldn't eat that sugary breakfast, but he just couldn't help it. It tasted so good. But as soon as he ate it, he hated himself. And then, of course, he was starving throughout the day now because it's, his insulin level spiked and all this stuff, and he was constantly hungry and craving and started eating, bad things and felt even worse about himself. And then at the end of the day, 3 o'clock rolls around, he's so tired, he doesn't want to do anything anymore. This is a before story. And then the transition is then he started working with us. And we helped him do this, this, and this. And now all of a sudden he wakes up, he knows exactly what to eat. He doesn't have any guesswork. He feels energized. He doesn't have to have caffeine anymore. He's pumped. 3 o'clock rolls around and he can't wait to work out. You see what I mean? So all I'm doing is just telling a story, what their status is. And this is these two right here. Well, all of these are really important, but telling their story of the average day and then communicating status, a status change, showing a status change is huge, because that ultimately is what a lot of people are after. Okay. Especially for our clients, right? Most of our clients are probably a lot like Tanner. Tanner's the CEO of Elite CEOs, if you don't know. And, he grew up, lower middle class. Probably his dad was a teacher. I think he had 7 brothers and sisters. Didn't have a lot of extra money. And so being, having that validation of being successful was important to him. And I think he's grown from that. Now I think he's motivated more by, creating things and driving things. But when I first started working with Tanner a few years ago, it was about material things. He went out and bought a $500,000 Lamborghini, and I wanted to slap him upside the head, but he had to go through that because that status was what he was after. And that's why he invested in his coaching. That's why he invested in building his business. That's what drove him. So you need to identify what the status is of your current avatar, of your current ideal customer, and help them and then find out what status they want to achieve. And if you can show them how to get there, selling becomes easy. If you can illustrate that, right? So let's backtrack. I'll give you some other examples. All right, let's look in the financial world, like investing. We have quite a few clients that are, successful traders, and they've gone on. They're now teaching other people how to do that too. And this is probably pretty obvious. So someone right now who's maybe, they got a full-time job. Maybe they're in their 30s to 40s. They don't. They know they want to invest, but they see people who are investing, but they don't know what to do, and they don't want to leave it up to their, just their 401k. They want to do something more. They know it's exciting, but they're nervous. But what they have right now is sort of don't know where to start, right? So an after state of that would be, a playbook for teaching them how to, become an experienced trader in 30 days or something like that. And they're feeling, confusion and overwhelm and a little scared. And an after state, of that is confident and they know what trades to move, and they wake up every day. This goes into their average day. Then it transitions to, instead of being, unsure and kind of crossing your fingers and pressing, buy and then selling at the wrong time and not being sure, all of those feelings roll into that average day of kind of that confusion and not really being sure, maybe even paralyzing so you don't do anything. And now all of a sudden the after state of that, by working with us, we've helped them do this, and this. And now now they wake up every day, they know exactly what to trade. They spend 15 minutes a day and they're getting, 20% returns. And then their status, right? Probably what they're ultimately after. They're average Joe, they're working 9 to 5, they're getting by, and they really ultimately, they want to be, they want to walk into their family, their family, Christmases, and have everybody say, wow, what is it that you're doing? It's so amazing. Please tell me what you're doing. It's incredible. They want to be recognized. They want to have that status, right? So we could go on and on all different types of professions and industries and niches of those industries. But at the end of the day, being able to identify these 4 questions with their before and after states and being able to illustrate them throughout all of your marketing is key. So what do I mean by that? Well, let's go back and look at the customer value journey. So in the attraction stage, obviously this is when we're talking about lead generation, right? So we're trying to get people to raise their hand and say, hey, I'm interested. We're trying to make them aware of who we are and what we have to offer. So in your advertising, this is an easy one, right? It can be showing that transformation of any one of those things. And it could be multiple of those things, right? I would focus in maybe on 1 or 2. If there are someone who's probably not quite as problem aware, like maybe it's, I'll use the investing as an example. If there's someone who maybe haven't really ever thought about trading on their own, maybe for them, it's not so much about status. Maybe for them, it's really just kind of, it's helping them understand that, where they are right now is not going to work, right? What they want to get to is what we've helped, what I would say if I were you, what we've helped other clients get to, which is, trading on their own, not having to rely on one of those, on a brokerage or something like that, or pay, huge broker fees. In the weight loss space, it's maybe it's the average day, right? Where instead of struggling every day to find what to eat, we're going to give you a step-by-step meal plan, daily meal plan where you can have healthy meals that's going to help you lose weight in 30 days or something like that. So it's incorporating that, right, into the attraction stage. That's how you get their attention, by calling out those emotional states, as emotional as you can possibly be, okay? And then demonstrating the status in that. When you get to the subscribe and engage stage, where you're trying to get them to opt in on your sales pages, on your, and even in your messaging, if you're doing this organically or communicating with people, it's having conversations about, how are things going right now? What are you frustrated with? What are you dealing with? And then being able to show, well, hey, I think I can help you. We have a program that can help you reach that goal, that's going to help you through that process and help you get to, whatever their after state is at each of those levels. In the validation stage, if you've got Facebook groups or you've got webinars that you're doing, or you're putting out training and other content, social content to kind of continue the nurture process, or even emails that you're sending to continue validate what you're doing, you should be continuing that conversation. All of the pieces of content and information that you are sending out needs to go back, and it needs to incorporate this before and after grid, right? What they have now, what they want to get, right? What are they feeling now, and what how they're going to feel after working with you, what their average day is like now, and how they're going to feel after working with you, what their status is now, and what their status is going to be after working with you. Okay. And then it doesn't stop when you make a sale, right? Because making a sale is just part of the process. Hopefully what you have is a program that's going to help people accomplish a result. And at the end of that, there hopefully is another program that they can take part in to continue to work with you. This is kind of ties into a little bit more complicated process, probably a separate training, but that's growing lifetime value, getting your clients to continue on, upgrade. We call it our next level program after they go through our mastermind. Our mastermind is a 12-week program. Then they go on to our next level, which is a year long, where they get to come in and work with our executives. And we kind of act like a virtual company, working along inside their business with them and helping them make good decisions and scale their business. Well, we have to nurture that relationship through this whole process. So that 12-week program that they're with us, we have to make sure that that our coaches, that our team is helping them identify those things, helping them understand that they're getting closer to that after state, right? At each one of these levels, the way that what they have, what they feel, what their average day is, and what their status is. So it doesn't just stop once you make a sale, it continues on through the nurturing of your clients. Okay. So guys, this is it. This is the number one conversion strategy for high ticket. Honestly, it's low ticket as well. So if you have sales pages for low ticket offers, if you have a course or something that you're trying to sell, if you have a lead magnet that you're trying to get people to opt into, or if you're having conversations with people organically, you're meeting people in groups or they follow you on social, the content that you put out, everything that you communicate should all be around transformation. How you're helping people go from over here on the left to over here on the right, and then incorporating these things into your content development strategy. Okay, your VSLs, so your opt-in pages, your ads, your opt-in pages, your VSLs, your email follow-ups, all of that stuff, all that content stems from the information that you get from this grid. That's it. It is so simple. It's not necessarily easy because it takes some digging, right? And that's the hardest part, is really truly understanding what it is that your clients want. That's why we're so successful at what we do, right? It's not that, Tanner's ads are all that great, or that, we're that great at targeting. It's really not that. I mean, we don't get me wrong. We have great people that work in our company, and our copywriter Samantha is incredible. But this is what she ultimately understands, right? When she writes copy, she identifies the emotional struggles that are going on with people at every level here, right? She can identify and call these things out, and that's why it's so important. When I build funnels, when I help Tanner script out a VSL, or work with Samantha to help him create a VSL, these are the things that we're identifying. We're trying to break down, and so many people get so caught up with, here's who I am, and I'm a certified this, and I help people get fit. Okay, great. And then here's what I give you, right? I give you this, and I give you this, and I give you this, and I give you this. That's great. Those are all features, right? And it's okay to validate who you are. That's all part of it. It's okay to talk about what you give people. That's part of it. But the most important part, the number one thing that's going to help that person go from being a lead to a conversion, is demonstrating their transformation, showing them that you can help them get their ideal day. You can help them get that feeling, that ultimate feeling that they're after, that status that they're after, or help them get what they want at the end of it. For us, I'll give you ours, right? It's very easy. I'll take you through ours. So what do they have right now? When we're marketing to people, most of our I would say our average person who comes into our program, they have a business. They're trying to sell it online. They're trying to market themselves, right? Typically it's high ticket, so 3,000 plus. And they're struggling, right? They probably have been through some other coaching, or they've bought some courses. They're a little frustrated, okay? Their average day is, constantly trying to go out there and communicate with people and trying to get people interested, and they're just kind of feel like they're beating their head against a wall. And their status is, they're just kind of getting by. They're probably doing okay, but they're not. But their ultimate goal is to really get that validation. Obviously make a lot of money. I mean, that's ultimately what our average clients are after. They want to make more money, but we go deeper than that. It's because for some, it's, they want to spend more time with family, or they want to have a nicer life because they didn't when they were growing up, or they don't want to stress about money ever again. They don't want money to be an issue. So there's more emotional stuff to it than that. Okay. So those are sort of the befores of ours, and some of the after. And all we're doing in our ads and everything that we're doing is just communicating to them how we're going to help them get there. Right. So if they're frustrated and they don't have consistent lead flow, and they don't know, how to fulfill well and their product, and they don't really know if their pricing is good, all that confusion, all that frustration, we take that out of the play. And that's what we communicate to them. We help them accomplish what they're after. We're going to help you. We're going to show you how we generate leads. We're going to give you our scripts for, converting those leads, our messaging scripts, convert those leads into booked appointments. We're going to show you how to use our advanced automations to make your business more efficient, right? So that you don't have to work as much and be as stressed out. We're going to show you how to create and structure your offer so it gets as many people in your business as possible. We're going to show you how to scale your business and grow your business so that you can reach your ultimate financial goals, so you can have the things that you want, right? That's what we do. That's how we communicate that in our marketing, okay? And it's so easy to do, but it's so easy not to do. And that's the mistake that I see a lot of people making. That's where this training came from today. So hopefully this was useful to you, okay? If you do have a question, please feel free. You can type it in. I'm going to wrap up. I'll wrap up basically with this. If you find yourself having a really tough time closing people, or you find yourself, constantly having conversations organically with leads and they're not really giving you the time of day, it's probably because you're focusing more on features and more superficial concepts than you should be. Try investigating a little bit more into that person and try or investing a little bit more time into that person and see if there's something out there, something that involves one of these 4 things that can help them get over that next stage. Because most of those people really don't think you care. They're not going to care about you until they know that you care about them, right? And that's all people want. Let people talk about themselves. Don't be in such a hurry to sell them what you have. And I get it, right? It's tempting because, you just want to make money and you want to grow, but real long-term customers, high value customers come from investing time in relationships with people. And it's easy for us to say we've got a big staff. We've got coaches that work with people. We've got messaging people that can do all that. If you're a one-man show, I get it. I've been there myself, right? Tanner's been there. All of our coaches who are successful now have been there. Laura Lamb is a great example. Laura started working with us a little over 2 years ago. She was an accountant, never been in the fitness space, but wanted a different life. She wanted a different life, and we said, we're going to help you get there. And she has been a loyal customer ever since then. She's doing like $200K a month now in her fitness business. She's building an absolute fitness empire. And that's just one example of, Kyle Henderson is another one. He's in the financial industry. He works with us closely. Kyle's doing over $100K a month and crushing it, coaching, but he was a trader, right? And he got sick and tired of, he was frustrated and he got sick and tired of doing things on Wall Street and wanted to help the average investor and have a bigger impact and a more ethical impact by really getting into the trenches and working with people. That was what drove him. And we communicated to him, we're going to help you get there. And that's what drives us. It motivates us. And we build those relationships with our customers because we understand what they're trying to accomplish. So the more insight you can get into that, the easier it's going to be to sell, right? The easier it's going to be to have a positive impact, is which most of you are actually after. And the easier it's going to be to retain that relationship with that customer and have a much higher lifetime value, which is what business is all about. Okay. So again, guys, thank you for the awesome comments. I really appreciate everybody, chiming in. This has been a lot of fun. I appreciate it. We'll be back here next Friday doing another Funnel Friday, different topic. But thank you guys for plugging in. You guys have a great rest of your week. See ya.
Wow, Ben, that was amazing. I hope you guys got something from that. That information can make you a lot of money, but only if you apply it. All right, guys, we have our final guest speaker of this episode. He's going to close us out with a motivational message that you do not want to miss. We have the CEO of Elite CEOs, Tanner Chidester. Go ahead and close it out for us.
Just over the weekend, I was able to kind of reflect. It's interesting when you slow down just a tad, you're able to reflect a little bit. And you're able to kind of see like, hey, like this is what's important. This is what isn't. And you're able to kind of appreciate some of the things you've gone through. So as I was talking to one of my brother-in-laws, and the first thing that I was able to reflect upon is as I was talking to my brother-in-law, he was talking about hard and difficult times that, he went through. I shared about some of the things I went through, and he just simply shared that they're character building moments. And in those moments, sometimes it feels like whatever you're going through is like never going to end. But in the grand scheme of things, it's really just kind of like a short little while. And so I found it interesting because as he said that, I found myself reflecting upon some difficult things that I've gone through, and even just like my upbringing, right? Me going and playing college football out in the middle of nowhere, being away from home for the first time, doing door-to-door sales, going on a church service mission trip for 2 years in a completely different country. And although they were very difficult, and those particular things that happened to me happened, one, for a reason, and then two, actually, shaped and molded me to be prepared for certain things that I'm doing now and will do in my future. And so I think it's just important to make sure that you guys go back and appreciate your roots and where you came from and things you've gone through up to this point. Whenever things, may not be going the way you want, or, even whenever you have a moment to reflect, I think that's very important to remember those things and keep in mind of your roots, because that's who makes you who you are. The second thing is, over the past couple months, I've been very fortunate to be able to have conversations with very high level people who are extremely wealthy, like very wealthy. And when I say wealthy, these are hundreds of millions of dollars type of individuals who basically are own that net worth, or they've sold companies for billions of dollars. And a pattern that I kind of have seen through, not everyone, but through some, is that they mention about how well things are with them, financially, and how well off they are there in that aspect. But other aspects in their lives, such as their personal relationships with family, friends, relatives, etc., have really suffered. And they've suffered to the point where there's really kind of like no return. And so it kind of made me reflect upon what's truly important, because as I was around my family, I was around all my nieces and all my family, and I just kind of took a second to pause, and I was just thinking that this is one of my whys. Like my whys, two of my big whys are, one, being dependable to my family, and then two, I enjoy working hard. Those are two of my big whys, or things that motivate me as a person. Me being there with my family, I felt, hey, my family knows that I can be here, to obviously, spend time with them and quality time and create lasting memories. But also I'm here for them in the hard times too. And so whenever you're going through stuff, especially if you're just starting out, or if you're transitioning your business or you're scaling, there's different pains or different problems or different issues you go through in your business. And if money's your only motivating factor, that is only going to last, it's only going to last for so long, because money will come and go. And it really, money's an inanimate object, right? It doesn't exist. And so you can't necessarily create a relationship with that. Or two, the relationships that you actually create, that's what has meaning. And so I think it's really important to make sure that your guys' whys are bigger than just making money. And if you guys do have whys that are related to family, et cetera, or whatever it might be, to make sure that regardless if you're busy or not, you make the time for that specific person or that specific, group of individuals, et cetera. Because really relationships is what it's all about, right? That's kind of the only thing that you're going to have long term. And so just reflecting upon those things, it just made me aware of, if they go through hard things or whatever they've gone through, those are important things that have made them who they are and have prepared them for certain, tasks and certain things that they're going to do now and in their future, as well as their why. So if you guys are going through anything tough, if you guys are going through a hard time in your business, hold on and go back to your why. Or if you don't have a why, I would nail that down, because you're going to need that when times get difficult and times get hard, because if you don't, you're going to ultimately quit, right? That's just kind of the way it is. And you aren't going to have something that's going to be a deeper motivating factor. If you guys really want to just go far and you guys want to be able to actually push your business and push things to the best that they possibly can be, I'd highly just recommend just kind of thinking upon those two things that I shared. See you guys later, okay?
Well, Vincent, that was amazing. I hope that you guys are fired up and excited and motivated to go win for yourselves and win for your family. That was so awesome. I am speechless. Well, guys, that concludes our second episode. If there is anyone that you would like on the show, please let us know. If you have any questions, suggestions, or anything you want us to cover in the next episode, please also let us know. And if you are ready for elite CEOs to take you and your business to elite levels, go ahead and follow us on Instagram at elite.ceos. And if you want more free trainings like this, we host them every Monday through Friday in our Elite Facebook group. Thank you guys for joining us today. We'll see you on the next episode. Bye for now.